Hello, everyone who is tuning in is very welcome. This is Ray Path Productions. I am your host, Chloe Folan, clairvoyant, here on A1R Psychic Radio on Moonstruck TV. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in live and supporting the show. And many thanks to those who intend on catching the show after it's live aired. A very warm welcome to you as well. I will be taking one or two calls midway through my show, but like that, I would like to just utilize the first 10 to 15 minutes of my show just to talk a little bit about sun cycles. And the reason why I would like to bring this up, and please keep in mind that this show is being streamed live from Ireland, here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are literally one day away, or 1 or 2 days away really, from the Autumn Harvest Festival. So that's what I meant last week when I mentioned I wanted to bring up annual sun cycles. So like that, as everyone knows, our sun governs our seasons. And here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are very close to autumn. And why I would like to bring that up is why different systems do celebrate on slightly different days. I do find it's quite nice in a way that's authentic and right for you to definitely find ways to tune into the seasons and to definitely mark the seasons in a way that's good for you or good for your family or good for your psyche, good for the soul. So like that, I would just like to share some inspirations over just some very small things you can do to celebrate autumn and to bring in that autumn energy into your life. So like that, coming into autumn, why we still do have a little bit of sun. When we come into autumn, we're starting to acknowledge that the seasons are starting to slow down a small bit. So autumn is a beautiful time to really take a step back and give thanks for everything that's happened throughout the year and to really notice what's happening to you, because in times when our lives were more governed by agriculture in the past, this would have been a time when people would have been reaping the harvest of all the hard work with growing crops and, working more closely with animals and, growing your own crops and farming. And when farming was a deeper part of all our lives and we were far more reliant and far closer to farming, every single one of us would have been farming in some way to maintain our lives. So why in modern life, some of us are not as deeply tied to agriculture in a modern way. It's a nice time of year to really take a step back and to have a look at, are you reaping what you've sown from the year? To have a look at where you've put your energies. So this is 2019. Where have you put your energies for 2019? Where have you been focusing yourself for 2019? And based on where you've been focusing your energies, taking a little bit of time around autumn to reflect on what has been happening to you based on where you've been putting your energies. And it's a beautiful time of year to start practicing an attitude of gratitude or counting one's blessings. So it's really nice to do, and especially if you have small children, like that, what I'm about to share can be done if you're someone who likes to just do little spontaneous ceremonies by yourself, or if you'd like to include your family and small children. You can always just start by creating a sacred space. You can then decorate your sacred space in like an autumn theme. You can, collect some nice leaves, some nice branches, pine cones, maybe get a few posters of autumn scenes, make it a nice space to be in. Then if you're by yourself or doing this with your family, and small children love this as well, everyone says a prayer that aligns them to their highest self. And then if everyone gets a pen and paper and starts writing down what you've got to be grateful for the year. So like that, I would personally celebrate this tomorrow on August Eve. I've always celebrated autumn or marked autumn on the 31st of July. So like that, when you're writing down what you've got to be grateful for, put down all things great and small. If you've had good health for 2019, put that down. If you've had, someone say a lot of kind things to you throughout the year, put that down. If you've been able to pay your bills, my goodness, that's huge. Put that down and give thanks for that, especially in globally what's happening for people. Sometimes we take it for granted that it's just a given, that, you just pay your bills and that's a given. And some people really struggle with that. So if that's something that, you've been able to do, even if there's been some tight spots, give thanks for that. Give thanks for good health. Give thanks for anything that comes to mind. And like that, if you have had some goals come to pass throughout the year, please do put those down as well. That if you had an aim to get a new job and you got a job, put that down and give thanks for that. If you aim to just have a little more confidence and that happened, give thanks for that. So anything and everything, really take some time to mull over the good things that have happened to you throughout 2019. And then what's lovely to do if you're doing this as a family, and even with small children, turn to the person next to you and vice versa, and tell them something nice that they did. So like that, turn around and say to them, thank you for the nice thing you said. Thank you for the time you made me breakfast. Thank you for the time you gave me that spontaneous hug. You didn't know it at the time, but I really could have done with a hug that day. Or like that, if your child did a lovely picture or, did something creative, use the time to highlight that, turn around and tell your child, well, wasn't that so creative? Aren't you very talented? Or like that with your partner, give thanks for anything nice that, say it to your partner and give your partner a chance to say it to you. And it's nice for children to see that as well. It's nice for children to see mum and mum or dad or however your family unit is, that's your business, and enjoy your family unit. Your family unit is your business. It's nice for children in any family dynamic to see parents, get along. And it's nice for children to see their parents give thanks to each other and parents to give thanks for them, and give your child an opportunity to say something nice back to you. It gives that it really just helps with family unity. And especially when life's been a little bit stressful, lovely, celebration to look forward to do that around autumn. And it's just lovely to do. So share, give thanks. And then once you've written everything down and you've taken time in your little family unit to say thanks to each other safely and responsibly, then burn your petition for thank yous. And then take a few moments to give thanks to the powers that be, the powers that you believe in, the life force that you believe in, the power that you believe guides your life. Take a few moments as a family to give thanks within your belief system to the powers that you believe govern and guide your life. Give thanks to those powers as well. And then just have a nice meal. Have something nice to drink. Put on a nice movie. Or what's really nice to do is doing that before bedtime, because it puts everyone in such a good mood. Makes everyone feel really appreciated and happy. And it's just a lovely way it's something you can do before bedtime. So like that, I'll say it again, different systems have different practices and different belief systems have different ways of celebrating, but that's a lovely basic way to tap into the energies of autumn. And it's a lovely way to kind of tune you into those natural sun cycles that happen, whether we're fully aware of those cycles or not. Because even in modern day lives, what happens in our modern day lives is still governed by nature, even if we tend to forget that. So I quite often find that people that do in a way that's authentic for them, take time out of their day to connect in with natural energies in any way they see fit, it just calms the psyche, soothes the psyche, helps someone feel like they're a part of a greater whole, taps you back into that greater whole, that greater cycle that we are a part of, whether we're aware of or not. So like that, I hope I've offered just lovely seeds of inspiration for what you can do for autumn if you see fit, and why that might be important or why that might be nice to try. And I believe we actually have somebody calling in Melissa from California. Melissa, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can.
Melissa, thank you for calling in. How can I help you? Do you have a query you would like me to tap into for you?
Yes. So I guess it's funny that you're talking about that because I'm having an issue in my family unit with my husband and my children who are not his. And there's just a lot of conflict. And I was kind of looking for some insight or direction.
No problem at all. Well, definitely, if you do find this airing, the airing of this broadcast, please do listen back to the tips that I gave, because the tips that I gave were very open-ended. So regardless of the core belief system that your family has, or if there's a religion that your family follow, you could fit that into any religious practice that you already have, where sometimes just sitting down together as a family and saying a nice prayer to get everyone in alignment with themselves. And then everyone gets a pen and paper, children included, and everyone writes down what they have to be grateful for. And that gets everyone in a good mood. And then that's when you turn to share with each other what the other person did that made you feel good. So this is where you can turn to your husband and give thanks to your husband for something that he did, no matter how small, or the children can share back. So that is something that I would invite you to do as a family. And what also is really nice to do is, there is a saying, although it's sometimes taken more religiously than it's meant, where it's the family that prays together stays together. And that doesn't necessarily mean religion. What that means is the family that's on the same page, even if there's individual interests, is more harmonious. So this is where you can inject a bit of fun that can de-stress stressful situations, where you can do family vision boards together as well, where like that everyone sits down together at the table. You get out old magazines, you get out pieces of card, and everyone cuts out pictures and words that would describe how they, would like the family life to be, or what they would like to do within the family. So cut out words like unity, cut out pictures of, picnics or places you like to go as a family. And everyone gets to put something on the vision board that's positive and explain why it's important to them and why that image meant something to them around creating a family vision board. So sometimes injecting a bit of fun and coming at it with more of a relaxed attitude takes defensiveness out of the situation and really deflates anyone being on the defense, and really deflates, surface touchiness. But what I will do for you as well, Melissa, is I do want to draw some tarot cards just to see if I can get a deeper insight as to the core reason for some of the conflict over what's going on. I'm just going to do a family spread where I look at you, your husband, where the opportunities are, where the challenges are, and the likely outcome, and your children will come through in that spread as well. So just give me 2 moments to draw the tarot, just to get some deeper insight for you. But definitely family vision boards, and definitely a family gratitude celebration, and counting one's blessings can really help get everyone, back together again and de-stressed. But I'll just have a look here to see what's happening, Melissa, and see if I can offer some deeper advice maybe on where the root conflict is coming from and another way to manage that.
Thank you.
Okay, now, as strange as this might sound, I'll just bring it up, and like that, this will make sense to you, but this seems to be two particular areas that have just gotten a bit lopsided. Definitely, and I'll say it again, modern life isn't easy when you're trying to balance, especially when there's multiple children. You know, finances aren't easy sometimes. And definitely I'm getting a card here that is showing that some of the stress is definitely around finances and trying to make sure that in terms of abundance and finances that there's enough to keep everybody happy, meaning making sure that there's enough for everyone in the family to have a quote unquote normal life. And that can be very stressful sometimes, and this seems to be one of the factors where, like that, yourself and your husband have been very focused on just trying to keep things going financially and just trying to pay the bills and just trying to make ends meet. And that's eating into you then having enough energy, you know, for yourselves, for each other, and then trying to have some quality time with the children as well. So one of the factors that's going on here is a traditional burnout is getting in here a bit, and there's definitely, I've got it loud and clear here, that it's definite, you know, stressors around finances, and things have been so centered around just trying to keep finances healthy and balanced that it's kind of pulled away from everything else. And the other card that I have here, and this might be more related to yourself, Melissa, but it could be the family collectively, is that sleep patterns are not good at all. So like that, I do believe that's partly relating to yourself, but partly could be relating to the family as a whole as well, where like that, when you are tired, when you are stressed, kids have worn you down a bit, you know, it's very difficult to try to keep to a, you know, proper bedtime routine, or trying to get older children to go to bed properly. But those factors, you pull all of those factors together and you add in, you know, more than one person in the family not sleeping properly, and that is going to create grouchiness, that is going to create tension, that is going to create a bit of snappiness. Now, on the good side, I'm not picking up that there's something terribly, terribly, terribly wrong. This is just a build-up of those two factors from what I can see, that it's, you know, and I'm coming back to yourself as well. So definitely, Melissa, something I would like you to try if this card is relating to you. I do believe this is partly relating to you as well as the family as a whole, that before you go to bed in the evening, even if you decide to try the little autumn celebration I was suggesting, that after you do that, every single evening before you go to bed, I want you to say a prayer that you feel aligns you to your higher self. I want you to get a pen and paper, and I want you to write down that everything that's sitting in your head. Write it all down. Write down everything sitting in your head, everything bothering you, everything you're finding hard to switch off from. And then fold up the paper and spend a few moments sensing all of that stress leaving you and going into the paper, and then either safely rip up the paper and throw it in the bin, or if you're able to do so, safely and responsibly burn the paper. Either or, whichever is easier to do. And you'll find that if you do that every single evening before going to bed, you'll notice the list you write will start to get shorter and shorter and shorter, and you will start to be able to sleep a little bit better over the next few days if you do try putting that in. And once again, children can do that as well. I've recommended that on to a few people where the children are slightly hyperactive or like that. Some people have children, and adults have this as well. There are some children and adults out there that seem to live off very little sleep and they're just fine, but their parents might not be fine. So one lovely thing you can do is because I do think it's relating to more than just you. If there is a hyperactive child that's having difficulty sleeping, getting them to do that as well before they go to bed. I guarantee you, if you do that nightly with them, do it together, it will help improve sleep patterns. So this seems to be a combination of looking at where it's important to acknowledge finances, then it's important to acknowledge that you do need a certain amount of money to have a decent quality of life, and especially when you're trying to look after children as well. But like that, trying to pull back a bit and see where you can reorganize your schedules, both you and your husband, reorganize your schedules to just reintroduce a little bit more family time, just a little bit more family time where you agree not to talk about anything serious and do something enjoyable. So family vision boards, family gratitude list, family dinner time where everyone at the dinner table gets to share something and everyone takes turns listening to that one person talking. And that's very healing as well. Everyone gets a chance to, say something important at the dinner table. So everyone sits down and eats together. None of this eating in front of the TV. Everyone sits at the table, no TV, no phones, sit down and eat together. And then everyone, one by one, gets a chance to share something at the dinner table that's important to them. And everyone else listens and doesn't give any input until the person's finished speaking. Because then it helps everyone feel validated within the family unit. It helps everyone feel heard in the family unit. So really on one side, I'm not seeing anything horribly wrong, which is fantastic. But this is about just reorganizing schedules, which is not easy sometimes, to just make sure that your schedules have family first, then everything else second, which is not easy to do in the world at the moment. But if things can be looked at and things can be tweaked to where you can have family first, our family first, then everything else second, I do believe little improvements will come in.
Okay.
On that note, Melissa, is there anything you want to ask me more deeply about what's happening in your family dynamics, or has another question come to mind?
Yeah, so my husband and I, we've been together for 4 years. I've changed a lot. I've grown a lot. And I'm finding that, like, our core values aren't so much aligned anymore. Even little things on how to deal with my oldest daughter, or on how we see the world. And it's becoming a problem. And I'm not quite sure. I don't want to, I know we're not responsible for other people. I can't change them, but it's making me feel differently. And it's just causing a lot of questions to come up in my head, and I'm not really sure what to do about it.
Okay. Sorry, my earphones are a bit funny for this call, Melissa. I heard that I did get most of what you said, but can you just clarify what's the main issue with your daughter, please, that your daughter's causing a bit of tension in the family?
Well, my oldest daughter is 18, and he thinks she should be on her own now. She needs to, fend for herself. She's my baby. And
of course,
it's our ideas on how to deal with things and how to deal with her on life. Like our values are different. And so he thinks because he's the husband.
And this brings me back to what I was saying over. I believe that what will really help is, especially if it's with your daughter, for you and your daughter to sit across from each other and have an opportunity for you to say what your core values are. Your daughter can share what her core values are, and you can acknowledge that you're both on different pages, and that in itself can be very healing. But when you're on different pages, and especially if she's reaching an age where she needs more independence, it's important for you to remind your daughter that if she wants more independence, then she has to get that for herself. You can't get a job for her. You can't go out and study her career for her. Just remind her that regardless of her core values, if she wants a certain type of lifestyle and she wants a certain type of life, that no matter who you are, that has to be worked for. And you can't do that for her. That she has to do it for her. And I guarantee you that despite core values being at odds, if you ask her who she admires, I guarantee you it's someone who has gone out and put in the work themselves to create that life. So I'm sure if you talk to her from her standpoint, from maybe someone that she admires, and say, well, look, do you realize that that person, you know, worked for that they went and did that themselves, that they made that work for them. Their mum didn't do it, their dad didn't do it, they did it for them. And that's how they did it, that might help the penny drop over, encouraging a bit more independence.